Hello, this is Dennis Kavanaugh, meteorologist here at your National Weather Service in Little Rock. And I'm going to go ahead and go through our latest forecast for the expected winter storm that's going to mainly affect the northern half of the state over the next couple of days. This forecast was created at about 4 p.m. and it may change as we get more data, especially with regards to temperatures during the overnight hours. Um, Basically, what's happening is we've already got cold air into place behind a cold front, basically behind yesterday's storms. We're going to have some more moisture move over the state behind or over that cold air. Um, Initially, precipitation is probably going to start off as sleet between northwestern and northern Arkansas, especially in higher terrain areas such as the Ozarks and the Ouachitas. Elsewhere, a cold rain is probably going to be observed, especially across central and southern Arkansas initially. Uh, Once we get into Wednesday mid morning, we do expect to start to see some accumulation of freezing rain and sleet, as I mentioned, across northwest and northern Arkansas. We expect that to spread to the east to cover most of northern Arkansas by about lunchtime tomorrow on Wednesday. The most intense precipitation is probably going to occur during the evening to overnight hours, but here's a general overlook at what is happening. We've got cold air in place, and you can see it extends from North Texas over Arkansas, over northern Arkansas, all the way through the Ohio Valley. Right now, we have a winter storm warning in effect, basically from areas roughly along and north of I-40 up to Conway, and then basically along and north of the line from Clinton to Jonesboro across the rest of northern Arkansas. We do have a winter weather advisory in effect for areas just south of I-40 from the state line at Fort Smith to Conway, and then again from Conway over through White County, Searcy, and into West Memphis. And the winter storm warning, that basically means we're expecting enough ice accumulation to have a major impact on travel and or infrastructure. The winter weather advisory means some impacts are expected, but not enough to have major impacts. Minor disruptions are more likely, but the major impacts are going to be in those pink counties where we have the winter storm warning in effect until from basically tomorrow morning until Thursday night or Thursday around sunset. In terms of ice accumulation, this may vary a bit again as we get more information on where the cold air is, and based on the timing of the precipitation. However, right now we are looking at a pretty significant forecast for freezing rain and ice across much of northern Arkansas. You can see Fayetteville to Harrison to Jonesboro. We're expecting more than a quarter inch of ice, basically between a quarter and a half inch of ice. And, from about Clinton through Mountain View up through Pocahontas and into Lawrence and Randolph County, we do expect a higher axis of freezing rain accumulations that could exceed a half an inch and may get up to 1 inch in total accumulation. In the Northwest, we do expect, because it's a little deeper in the cold air, that some of what is going to fall as freezing rain in areas further to the east, some of that precipitation will actually fall as sleet. And for the National Weather Service, for official records, we count sleet the same as we count snowfall. So what you see in blue here is really a sleet accumulation forecast. We don't really expect that much snow to fall. But you can see in northwest Arkansas from Harrison to Fayetteville, that's where we are expecting at least a half inch to an inch of sleet. and that will take away a little bit from the freezing rain accumulation. However, between the freezing rain and the sleet accumulation, we do still expect significant impacts from the winter storm coming up over the next 36 to 48 hours. Uh, in the next few slides here, I'm going to go over our latest forecast for timing, but there are a couple of very important caveats. For one thing, I'm just going to be showing you raw model data. Raw forecast model data does not include forecaster expertise. It's just what one forecast model outputs, and it's meant to just give you a general idea of where precipitation is most likely to be at any given time. The color coding bar, the greens and the blues, that's going to be basically the difference between liquid rainfall and snowfall. And the models are usually pretty good at determining the difference between rain and snow. However, if you look over to the right, the purple and pink areas, purple, pink, and red areas, the models typically do a very poor job at forecasting whether we're going to get sleet or freezing rain. And so that's where a lot of forecaster expertise comes in. And so in the upcoming slides here, anywhere you see purple or that pinkish red color, we do expect more in the way of freezing rain and sleet at this time. And another thing to keep in mind here is that as at the time that we made this forecast, the models were not doing a great job handling where the cold air was. Temperatures were basically running anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees lower than what was actually observed. So we do expect some changes to the forecast, but what I'm going to run through right now is the best forecast that we have for Arkansas this evening. Basically, we expect the onset of frozen precipitation to start to occur tomorrow morning, Wednesday morning, mid-morning, maybe 9 to 10 a.m. is when we expect some noticeable or actually measurable ice and or sleet accumulations in northwest Arkansas. You can see by noon to 1 p.m. by midday, we do expect that area of freezing rain primarily to extend to the east all the way across northern Arkansas. And you'll note the caveat I put there is please don't take the timing or the precip types here as gospel. This is just raw model data, and it's to give you a general idea of when and where we expect the most freezing rain or precipitation to be at any given time. That will probably change in future forecasts, but we wanted to give you a good timing graphic right now. The most intense time that we expect precipitation to fall is actually going to be Wednesday mid to late afternoon through sunset on Wednesday to Thursday early morning. Much of northern Arkansas is going to be impacted by significant ice accumulations, basically Wednesday afternoon and evening. And then those really significant accumulations are going to start to pile up in north central and northeast Arkansas, anywhere from Wednesday evening through the early morning hours on Thursday. As we move forward here, we still expect some freezing rain to be accumulating across northern Arkansas. After sunrise, basically early Thursday morning, you can see the precipitation is a bit more scattered, not quite as intense in nature. But if you've already got, a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice on the road, on the power lines, on trees, a lot of the damage will already be done. So any additional ice accumulation will just exacerbate the impacts that have already happened at this time. We do expect precipitation, this at least scattered and maybe lighter accumulating precipitation, to continue through midday Thursday and probably ending Thursday by sunset. So that's when we have the winter storm warning and the winter weather advisories in effect. Right now is through 6 p.m. Thursday. based on again based on mostly forecaster expertise, not looking at just any one model. Across northern Arkansas, we have the highest confidence that the frozen precipitation is going to fall as freezing rain, and freezing rain is just it's the worst. It's it accumulates on trees, on power lines. It can knock out power. It can knock down large tree branches. Uh, roads that are not treated or pre-treated become almost impossible to drive on. And so we have a pretty high confidence in large ice. Well, again, half-inch to 1 inch ice accumulations across much of northern Arkansas. So we do expect a pretty high impact winter storm here over the next 36 to 48 hours. And our confidence is growing with time. Again, a couple of the major things that we're looking at right now is why are the models warmer than what they're supposed to be, than what we're actually observing? And then we'll have to keep an eye on when the onset of the precipitation is. So expect a forecast update tomorrow morning. But this is the best forecast that we've got right now. Here's a quick explanation of just how you get the different precipitation types. If you're getting precipitation and the temperatures are below freezing from the top of the atmosphere all the way to the ground, it's a pretty easy forecast. You're going to get snow. Where it gets complicated is when you have warm air aloft. And we do expect to have warm air aloft as that moisture returns over the shallow cold air that's in place over Arkansas right now. And depending on the depth of that cold air, it can cause rain as it falls towards the ground to actually freeze into pellets, which is what we would call sleet. Or if the freezing layer is very shallow, that rain will fall. The rain will actually be below freezing. Water can exist in temperatures below freezing, believe it or not. And so if you were standing outside during an ice storm, it would just be raining. But immediately when it comes into contact with some surface that is at or below freezing, it will turn into ice. And so we usually have the biggest forecast challenge forecasting between sleet and freezing rain, because the depth of the cold air mass below the warm air mass that's melting the snow, it's hard to keep track of because we don't have weather balloons all over the place. And that's our best way of keeping track of temperatures aloft. Right now, that's all I have for our latest briefing for this evening. As I mentioned, the forecast is likely to have at least some minor changes. I wouldn't expect significant changes. But we are very confident that in that winter storm warning area across the northern third part of the state, we're going to have a very high impact winter weather event. And then some impacts, inconvenience impacts as you get a little further south towards the I-40 and I-30 corridors. So please stay tuned for the latest forecast. You can always find us on the web at www.weather.gov/LZK. We have Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube channels. And you're likely to see this video off of our YouTube channel that you can check for updates as well and communicate with us. And if you need to, you can always give us a call. Our phone number's right there as well. So thanks for listening to this briefing, and hopefully we can all make it through this winter storm without too much, without too many problems. This is Little Rock Weather signing off.